Lights on, phone on airplane mode, just so we are concentrated, and we are live. Welcome to another video on the channel, my tigers. It's Alex from Tiger ADA. I'm very happy to have you here on my channel for another, in my opinion, very great video. And we're going to go again deep into our inner world. Because why? Because all of the spiritual teachers point to the inside, because our inside is much more important than the outside, because our inside rules our outside, and we need to, all of us individually, understand the processes going on in our mind and soul and body, and therefore we can explain what is happening on the outside world, because there are a lot of people that cannot explain to themselves what is happening, why do I keep doing this, why do I feel like this in these situations. And that's why I make these videos, just so everybody can understand themselves better. In this video, we're speaking about the 3 stages of, let's say, self-actualization. That's one of my favorite words these days. Just the path to enlightenment, just the 3 stages that the people reside in. And I'm going to go into each one individually and try to explain it as best as I can, just so you, for yourself, understand in which phase you are and which direction you should take on in the future. So, without any further ado, the 3 directions, as you probably have seen, the 3 stages that you've probably seen from the title of the video are having, doing, and being, in this order. So having is the lowest, then you move up to doing, and then you finally, the end goal for every person, every conscious person should be being. What do I mean by this? I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this. So having, starting with having, it is the place where the most people reside on. What do I mean by having? Most of the people, first of all, base their value on what they have, on what are their possessions. You've probably seen it. There are a lot of flexers, a lot of people that just flex, just brag with their possessions. It can be a car, it can be even a salary, it can be apartment, it can be even something like a nice girlfriend or nice social status, a lot of friends, let's say. These people base their value on this. I've always told you guys that our internal value is not touched. Our internal value is eternal. And it's very hard to understand, obviously. It took me so long, and I'm still also on this path of understanding that our value doesn't matter. Our value, it's not affected by anything that is happening on the outside world, whether that is our possessions, or later on I'll speak what do we actually do with our lives. And when you focus on having things consumes you. For example, you focus on having a nice car in the future, and this is your goal. You work for this goal 5 years, you get your Lambo, let's say, and you're very fulfilled for 5 days, 2 weeks, let's say 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, let's say. You're very fulfilled that you achieved your goal. But then it comes time for the next goal, because you don't feel fulfilled with what you have already right now. So you need to have something more, and something more, and something more. And there is nothing wrong with having goals. That is obvious. We live in a materialistic world. Everybody would like a nice car. That's not what I mean. But if you base your value on the things that you have, you always feel a little bit empty inside. You always feel not enough. You always feel incomplete. And you try to fulfill your incompleteness with these materialistic things. But you already know from many rich people, they say that money is not the most important thing. And of course, we should all strive for money, because money is important, money is freedom, etc., etc. It's a different topic. But what do I mean is that we shouldn't base our value on what we have. Because if we base our value on what we have, what happens if we don't have it? Let's say we feel incomplete, and for these 5 years we work for this Lambo. We get this Lambo and we feel the best because we've based our value on this Lambo, on these material things. But what would happen if we crash this Lambo somewhere and this Lambo is in pieces? It's too expensive to repair it, and we cannot have this Lambo anymore, and we go back to Ford Fiesta or Dacia. What happens then? Then we internally, I'm not speaking outside, I'm speaking internally, we feel incomplete once again, because we based our value on what we have. And it's the same thing with, for example, having a nice girlfriend. It's the same thing for having this nice apartment. Everything happens in life because life is flowing, life is always changing. That's the nature of life. And especially with these material things, because these material things can be broken. the apartment can be set on fire. Yes, it's very unlikely. Yes, I don't wish that to anybody. But the material things, they can be taken away from you. You can build a house for 15 years and maybe some storm happening, some tornado or some natural disaster happens. Or even more likely, the government invents a new law that you cannot have the property in this particular place, and they take part of it. And if you base your value on the material things that you have, you always feel incomplete, because even if you have them, even if something bad doesn't happen to them, you are still going to want more and more and more and more and more, because this feeling of incompleteness is not based on the external world. That's what my videos are for going into the internal world, for understanding why is there this feeling of incompleteness in the first place. For example, you are socially anxious, you are afraid to speak to people and to girls. This is very hard for most of the boys. It's not that, oh yes, I'm going to go make some challenges, oh I'm going to be more confident, I'm going to look in a certain way and say a certain thing. The question is, why are you anxious in the first place? Going inside, not going outside, going inside and trying to understand yourself better, trying to let go of the limitations and borders that you put on yourself and your self-value. That's why having is the lowest state that you can be in. And also something very important that I remembered is that when you base on value on the things that you have, you become very needy to them. Because if you base your value on anything else apart from yourself internally, you become very needy for these things. What does needy mean? Is that you try to hold on to them as tight as you can. Because if you lose them, you lose your value. That's what happens. The most obvious example is with relationships, because you feel that you're incomplete and you find this perfect partner that completes you and you try to stick onto them, whatever it takes, being needy. But by being needy, by wanting so much, want, you actually destroy what you have. Especially when it comes to relationships. By being needy, by wanting this person so much, you start to act in a certain way that repulses them, and they go away from you eventually. That's something very interesting, because neediness is probably the worst thing that you can have. And neediness comes from always needing something to complete you. And having things is the lowest vibration that you can need things on. Because the next vibration is doing. So, as I told you, people base their value on having things. And on the next level, as you move a little bit up the ladder of consciousness, people start to base their value on what they are doing. I'm going to take a sip of water. So, when people base their value on what they are doing, that's the most prominent example would be somebody who is a president or a CEO or a board of directors or some nice position in the social status, mainly in the workplace. So people start to base their value on what they do in their life. And this is 100% honestly the place where I'm currently at, because I see it through self-analyzation, and the best places you can analyze yourself are in the social situations, because there some things are triggered inside of you and you start to go deeper and understand, why did I get triggered about this? So basically, I'm going to speak about me a little bit, just so you understand better. When you reside in this place where what you do is the most important thing, what you do is defining your self-value, then if you don't do these things, then you feel miserable, then you feel incomplete. And that was me. That's what I got so needy about, was self-improvement. When I found out about self-improvement, meaning training, socializing, reading books, informing yourself, trying to make money, all of these things, self-improvement, just improving your personality in general, I got so needy about this topic that every time I wasn't doing self-improvement, I felt like shit. I felt incomplete, just like having. I felt incomplete, and I launched onto something that is going to complete me, which was self-improvement. So every time I was doing self-improvement, any form of it, I was feeling complete. And every time, however, I wasn't doing self-improvement, I felt incomplete because I based my value on what I'm doing in this current moment. So for example, if I speak to somebody, if I'm not having a nice job or a nice university degree or something like this, I feel like shit, because I let this affect my internal value. Back then I didn't realize it. I haven't realized it completely and completely comprehend and just make it a part of myself. But our internal value is not touched by the external world. That's what we need to understand. Everybody has an internal value that doesn't really matter what you do or what you have. And by this, I'll give you one example. So when I was working as a delivery driver, when somebody asks me what do you do, I try to avoid the topic. I say, yeah, I'm doing this delivery driver thing, but it's just part-time. It's in the night. It's, you know, I'm not really gonna do this for a long time. You know, excuses. I'm not saying the truth. I'm not saying, yeah, I'm a delivery driver right now, because I'm afraid this would affect my value in the other people's eyes. I'm afraid that the others are going to judge me and going to think lower of me, because I base my value on what I do. On the other hand, when I was an English teacher or when I was chief entertainer or manager of the entertainment team, I was so happy to admit these things. I was just saying, yeah, I'm an English teacher because it's a perceived nice job, and also I'm a manager, you know, I'm a responsible person. That's how it looks from the other people's eyes, and that's what I was focusing on. I was basing my value on what I'm doing. Just as the president of the I don't know, so-and-so organization is so proud of this, and he's happily shaking everybody's hands. Yes, I'm the president, because all these things, both material and doing, they are just teasing your ego. They are making your ego feel better. And of course, somebody can have a lot of things. Somebody can be a president of so-and-so organization without basing their value on these things. The most important thing is not to not have goals, or not to not be a person of value, not doing something nice. The point is to not base your value on these things, because as the material things, also these jobs, these positions, you can lose them. The same way I lost my manager job because I got an injury and I had to go back home. So kind of I based my whole value on this manager job. I made my whole personality, my whole internal value is based on this. And then when I don't have this job anymore, I feel like shit again. I feel incomplete again. That's what happens if you set your material or doing goals only to fulfill your incompleteness, because as the moment you complete these goals, for example, let's say make 5K a month, you are happy for a little bit, and then you start to feel incomplete once again. And then you launch onto the next goal, and the next goal, and the next goal, looking for this completeness. But this completeness, guys, lies in the present moment without needing anything from the external world. And this is so important, because people cannot imagine being happy without anything particular happening or without anything particular having. This is so crazy. But we've been focused our whole life on the external world, on achieving some certain things, on finding happiness outside of ourselves. But the happiness ultimately resides in ourselves. And happiness, as I told you before, it's not this smiling feeling, it's not this feeling of euphoria. It is the completeness of ourselves. And trust me when I say we can theoretically feel complete when we are broke. We can feel complete when we are on the street. We can feel complete when we are single. We can feel complete if we are driving Skoda. We can feel complete in any particular moment. This doesn't mean that we shouldn't have a nice car, nice girlfriend, a nice life in general, having a home. But what I mean by this is that being complete, being happy, being fulfilled is an internal feeling, and there is nothing from the outside world that can fulfill us. That's why, for example, very rich people, they get the mansions, they get the cars, they get the the many girlfriends. They start doing drugs, they start partying every night, they start getting drunk, and more drugs and more yachts and travels and planes and everything, trying to fulfill themselves with everything. And in the end, they cannot get enough of it. They start to do more drugs, more alcohol. They start to ruin their life because they are chasing this material and also doing things. Doing is a little bit harder to understand because you go a little bit deeper. Because some people base their value on the fact that they're doing some charity, for example. And they kind of, you can see that they are bragging about it, or at least, if not bragging, they are basing their value on what they're doing. You know, I'm doing charity, or I'm doing these amazing YouTube videos, for example, helping people. Yes, I'm a coach. Yes, I'm a teacher. You base your value on what you are doing. And when you move up the ladder to the final stage, which should be our spiritual goal, let's say, this is to base our value on who we are, on just being. And there's another perspective I'll tell you a little bit later. But when you focus on what you are yourself 24/7, and you don't need anything else. If you base your value on just who you are, doesn't matter what's your job, what's your position, what do you have, in which room are you filming the videos. If you base your value on who you are, you can be yourself at every single point of the day, and you can be happy about it, because you base your value on who you are. People call you not because you are the president of so-and-so, or not because you are the guy with a nice yacht and nice boat and nice apartment. People call you, people want to hang out with you, people want to spend time with you because of who you are. Because your internal value of everyone watching, and of me, is in ourselves. It's very hard to understand, and I'm not at this point for sure, I'm telling you honestly. Because this is very hard, because we've been conditioned our whole way to look on the outside and go further and further and further. But what we have to do is go more on the inside, more on the inside, more on the inside, and realize that we are full and complete by ourselves. For those of you who believe in God, we are created by God's image. We are God's creations, each and every one of us. It doesn't matter what we do or what we have, because we are born in this world without anything, only with ourselves. I don't know if I went too deep, but guys, you need to realize these things, and also me, of course. We need to move onto this path of self-actualizations, because of course it's nice to have goals, it's nice to have dreams, it's nice to do some nice things, but at the same time, this shouldn't define us as people, because life, guys, is a very temporary process. First of all, we're going to die. Second of all, we've noticed that things change, people in your life change, your circumstances change, your material things get broken, your jobs get lost, you get fired. If you base your value on these things, these material, external things in life, your value is going to be like this. But your value, not your mood. Your mood can be like this, that's okay. These are another videos that I make on the channel, you can check them out. But your value inside of you should not be affected by these things. Yes, life is like this. We need to learn how to experience it. This is a different topic. But our value is a constant. It stays always at an all-time high. Because our value is not defined by our flesh, our t-shirt, our material body. Our value is inside of ourselves. I don't know if you understand these concepts, but another, maybe the last thing I want to mention is that when you focus your efforts and everything, your actions on improving yourself as a person, improving who you are, not improving your financial status or improving your actions for now, just for the beginning I'm speaking. When you focus your actions and efforts on who you are, then everything is much easier. It's like building a building, and what we do is like we try to stack more floors and make the building higher and higher, while our base is not very strong. Our foundation is not very nice, and if we focus on making it concrete, making it strong, the foundation, then we can build floors much easier than that. And there is something very interesting when it comes to our identity and our goals. For example, if I want to be more popular YouTuber, let's say, and completely completely materialistic goal would be, I want to have 10k subscribers. To have is the key word. Then when it comes to doing, I want to do videos that help people, that are valuable to people, that maybe change their lives. That's the doing goal. And when it comes to being, this is a completely different goal, and makes things much easier, makes change much easier. You just say, I'm a YouTuber who changed lives. I don't know if the example was the best, but what I mean is that if you want to change yourself, if you want to change your life, you shouldn't focus on the goal to be only materialistic, to have or to do. My goal is to be this person on the internet that is helping people to be. Not just to help people, to be this person. Because this is from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's a very popular book, you probably know it. It's not so much your actions, but you need identity shift. It's like you don't say, I don't smoke. Right now I'm trying to quit cigarettes. You say, I'm not a smoker. There's a big difference because one of them is your identity and one of them is what you're trying to do. So it's much stronger identity shift just to say, I am. And this is also kind of proves what I spoke about so far. Focusing on who you are, not so much what you do. And if you want a real change, if you want a real improvement, try to say these words to you. I am confident. It's not I'm doing confident things, or I have a lot of friends, that's why I have a lot of charisma. I am charismatic. I am healthy person. I am happy. And try to work on these things. And of course, when you say I am happy or I am confident, your body is cringing, your feelings are because internally you don't believe this, and that's where you need to dive deep into and let go of these things. But this is a completely different topic. Having, doing, being. These are the 3 stages of our development that we need all to focus on being the best version of ourselves. Not only having some things, not only doing some things, but being. And if you focus on being yourself also, you realize that happiness lies only in the present moment. And the only person that you actually have is you. And the only relationship, or at least the most important relationship that you have, is with you yourself. And you need to work on this relationship even more. Because this is the foundation of life. This is the base of the building. I hope this video was very valuable to you. For me, it was an absolute pleasure, like always, to make this video. And I'll see you in the next one, guys. And as usual, stay tigers.